Welcome to the Delmarva Almanac. Each week we connect you to the best of Delmarva. Like other almanacs, our aim is to tell you a little bit about our past, our present, and events in the near future. I'm your host, Dana Kester McCabe. This time of year, many of us enjoy a good fire. It used to be that everyone burned leaves, and the resulting aroma was practically a signal that it was almost Thanksgiving. This practice has not completely gone away, but more and more people have found the advantage of turning those leaves into beneficial mulch. And here on Delmarva, as in many other places, local counties and municipalities now have ordinances regulating open fires. A good general rule is that if you live in a town, open fires are not often permitted, and if you live in a rural area, they are. But there are exceptions and limitations, so be on the safe side and check your county or city website for the rules where you live. The next thing to do is check the weather. Never build a fire when gusting wind is expected. We don't hear about wildfires here on Delmarva very often, but they do make the news a few times every year. If you're burning leaves, it's a good idea to keep your pile 200 feet away from your property line, trees, and other structures. Keep a metal rake and a working hose handy to keep the fire contained. Needless to say, you should never leave the fire unattended, and kids should always be supervised around fires. It's a good idea, once your fire has reduced everything to ash, to douse it with a healthy bit of water. Sometimes the coals underneath a large burn pile will remain active for several days, so be sure to go back and stir and water it until you are sure it is completely out. If you're using a fire pit, place it on bare ground, stone, asphalt, or masonry patio. Never use them on a wood deck. Keep them away from awnings, covered porches, and low-hanging trees. Use a wire cover to help reduce flying embers. And try not to use lighter fluid to light your fire. It smells bad and can create a risk of flash-ups. Learn how to build a proper fire using tinder and kindling instead. The main reason people find it hard to build a fire is that their wood is wet or there isn't enough room between the sticks and logs to allow oxygen to fuel the fire. Split logs work much better than large whole logs. The basic theory is to start small and work your way to bigger pieces of wood. Begin with a pile of kindling, small twigs, dry leaves, or pine needles. Next, add a loose thatched layer of tinder, small sticks which are less than an inch around. Then build a sort of structure with a few smaller logs, leaving access to some of the kindling. Light the kindling with a match. Once the kindling has caught, it will start to burn the tinder and then the logs. Once the smaller logs are actively burning, add more logs on top one at a time. Then get ready to tell a tale or two. In many ways, we have not progressed much past our primitive ancestors. Sitting around a good fire with good company telling stories makes a cold night magical. Oh, and a cup of cocoa is nice too. Visit this story on our website for a link to a video demonstration of fire building by Jim Rapp and to tips on safe fire building from Smokey the Bear. Do you have a good story to share about recipes and life lessons you've learned at community meals or potlucks here on Delmarva? Email us at food@delmarvaalmanac.com so we can pass your story on to our audience. Well, that's all for this edition of the Delmarva Almanac. We'd like to thank our community partners, the Friends of Delmarva Public Radio, the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore, and underwriters, eatdrinkbuyart.com, for their help in bringing this program to you, our audience. Our theme music was provided by Brightside Studio. This show has been a Moonshell production. Thanks for listening. Until we meet again, may the rhythms and tides of Delmarva bring you good fortune.